For me, there's this idea, and I'm not sure where I heard it first or what the origin of it is, but it talks about the two different building materials that the Torah discusses, and one is bricks, and that's very appropriate of this time of year. We're reading Shemot, and we're reading about the Jewish people, and they have to build, and in Egypt, and they use the term levanim over and over and over again in terms of what the Egyptians use as a building material. And to contrast that, the Jewish people, anybody who's been to the Kotel, anybody who reads about the stones underneath Yaakov's head, any of the times you talk about building materials for the Jewish people, it's stones typically. So to contrast that, sort of what's the message the Torah is trying to give us when it shows us that the Jewish people focus on stones as a building material, and the Egyptians, maybe representative of the larger world, use bricks. And so the idea that I tried have sort of tied into that, and think it's a great educational message, and it's one that I think we need to think more about as we move forward, is that bricks are uniform, they're the same, they're replaceable. If you're building a building with bricks, if one brick falls out, you just slide another brick in. There's sort of a uniform standard of success. This is the brick, this is what we want everyone to look like, this is the end goal for everybody, for everything. As opposed to the Jewish kind of notion of how we build, and that's with stones. And stones can come in, again, go to the Kotel. There's enormous stones, and there are smaller stones, and there are stones that are round, and there are stones that are square, there's stones that are long, and there are stones that are smaller and shorter, and it takes all of them to build a building, in a very strong building. And I think that notion that within Judaism we believe that there's not some sort of uniform standard of what is good and what is right and what the end goal is, but that everybody has a role and everybody has a shape and a size, and we need each and every one of those pieces to form the wall, whether it's of our schools or of our shuls or of our communities or of our nation. I think has tremendously powerful message for, again, all of those institutions. If our schools can think of our students as not just being some sort of product and here's the end goal, but each of them is their own unique product, and we have to help cultivate their strengths and who they are as individuals as part of a larger organization, as part of a larger school community, but that each one has something special to bring to the table. I think the same thing is true of shuls and schools, and even just the Jewish people at large. We're so many different denominations and bring so many different things to the table. When I think about schools, I always quote Daniel Pink, who's this great writer, who's written, his most recent bestseller is Drive, what motivates people. I don't know the exact title, but he talks about, I think he's speaking about this Dvar Torah without referencing it directly. He talks about people needing autonomy, people being recognized as individuals, not as some sort of nameless, faceless mass. And the more that we can give people autonomy, the more that we can recognize who they are as unique individuals, the more that we can teach them to interact with others who are different than them, the more successful. That's what motivates people to succeed. So I think this is sort of an age-old idea that is finally seeing its time come in the larger world, and I think Judaism has really brought this idea, or did bring this idea forward, and unfortunately sometimes we lose it in just the way we function. We've sort of forgotten that unique message. So I do it, I'm fortunate to be at a school that shares this exact message, so I love it. Shalhevet stands for this exact message, and it's one of the reasons I chose to go there, was because I think they really truly believe in students having a voice and the uniqueness of each kid. I think that's what creates happy kids who are going to be very successful at just impacting the world and making the world a better place. So that's what I thought you were asking.